Hi guys, Chris here with Super Savvy Travelers. Hey, today we're going to go over the question of what does it cost to live in Italy for a month or a year, and basically what are the basic costs of living in Italy. Now, as things get more expensive in the US, especially California is ridiculously expensive. It helps to kind of look at some of the costs here and find out that, living here is a whole lot less expensive than living in California, for example. So we're going to go over a few things. Now, understand Italy's a big place, right? It's actually around the same size as California, and there's all these different areas. There's super famous, towns and villages and whatnot. In Venice, it's going to be way more expensive. Rome, Florence, all those cities. In the big cities, you're going to pay top dollar. In fact, we were talking to Lorella the other day, and she said, you know what a garage is going for in my neighborhood in Florence? And we're like, we have no idea. And she's like, 99,000 euros for a one-car garage. And I'm like, oh my God, that's insane, because our garage here, which is a huge garage, you could put three cars in it, at least 3 cars, and we paid 25,000. So you're looking at huge differences between towns that are very, very popular and very expensive and just living like normal people in Italy live. And we are in Torrita di Siena, and I thought I'd use that as the perfect example because it is in Tuscany. We were in Calabria. A lot of it applies to Calabria, and we'll talk about that too. But here in Tuscany, people have this idea, oh, it's so ruinously expensive to live in Tuscany, and it's not. It's not, and I'm going to give you examples. So as an example, we're going to look at a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment, a nice size apartment in Torrita di Siena. Now the rents here for a basic apartment that's unfurnished, which is, let's be honest, pretty basic, you can get it for about $500 a month. That's habitable, probably dated, not a lot of furnishing and no kitchen probably. Or if it is a kitchen, it's very old and probably not a nice kitchen. Understand that kitchens are furniture here. So if you're buying a place unfurnished, you might have to buy a kitchen, and very likely you will. So that's around $500 per month, and then it goes up from there. There's in a nicer area, which is going to add to the cost. You can buy it furnished, which will add to the cost, but might be worth it. You don't have to buy a kitchen. In fact, you don't have to buy anything. But for a very attractive, centrally located apartment in Torrita di Siena, you're going to look at, from 80 to 100 square meters, you're going to look at around 1,000 euros per month. Now, of course, there's a lot of variation in there, but start looking. I mean, that's very affordable compared to America prices, or I shouldn't say all of America, but certainly California. You can't even rent a sunny dumpster anywhere on the coast of California for that price. It's just not happening. So housing prices very, very affordable. And of course, if you buy a house, there's tons of the real bargains, if you're willing to live in a historic center, are in the historic centers, because the Italians, they tend to move to the more, the more recent apartments down below, with the garages and everything else. But if you want to live in a historic center, you can find some supreme value properties here. So that's another idea. Do look at your mobility, do look at your lifespan and where you're going to be in 10 years and see if that works for you. But it is an idea. And you can find historic center properties that are okay for mobility impaired people. All right, maintenance for your house. Again, it depends a lot on where you are and what kind of house you have. Do you have a garden? Are you paying a gardener? All of that stuff. We're looking at basic maintenance, no garden. And here in Torrita, it's going to be a lot less for basic exterior maintenance here in Tuscany than it would be in Calabria, for instance. Calabria, along the sea there, it just gets pounded by the sea weather, the salt. The rainstorms down there are particularly violent, and the wind comes in and moisture comes in, and it's a very, very humid atmosphere. So you get a lot of mold buildup, you get a lot of staining on the outside and that kind of thing. On the inside, you do have to keep airing out the property, or you're going to get the blistering. We see it in almost every property there that hasn't been recently repainted, the blistering of the plaster and the paint, and that's got to be repaired and that kind of thing. So that can be a few hundred per year in Calabria, okay? Here in Torrita, I think the only thing we would have to pay any maintenance on is if we had a plumbing issue, which we are getting some renovations done, so plumbing will not be an issue, and that'll be nice, or like heating or electrical issues or anything like that. Very rare. I've been here about 2 years, I think, or a year and some. Anyway, no plumbing issues, no electrical issues, no power outages, nothing like that. So it's very maintenance free where we are in the historic center. We live in a house that's made completely of brick, and is part of the old, the old historic center. I've been here hundreds of years, and so it's very, very well built. And these kind of almost maintain themselves. Of course, you probably do have to paint at some point. All right, let's look at electricity and heating and all of that. Now, many times in these apartments, here in Torita and in Tuscany in general, you're going to see the radiators, which is nice. Many of them are hooked up to city gas, methane, and that's fine. The one we have here is gasolio, which means you get a gas truck. It's very old. Get a gas truck in here, and it puts in the gas and that kind of thing. And we're not going to be using that one in the future. So I'm not sure exactly what gas would cost, but I do know that when we were living in Scalea with the splits, the heating and cooling splits, during the winter and during the summer, it was anywhere from $250 to $300 a month for electricity. And that was heating, air conditioning, water heating, lights, everything. So I think, considering the fact that when we're in California, almost three times, not 3 times that much, but certainly double at least. All right, internet, around $30 a month. They have the TIM thing here. We like Starlink because it's so easy to set up. And I'll tell you something, it never goes out. Everybody else out of internet. I think in Scalea this year they had, last I heard it was going on weeks. And the year before, 10 days without internet down there with the TIM network. I'm sorry, you pay $30 a month for TIM. You want internet to be uninterrupted. So we like Starlink for that reason. You can get it anywhere. It's very easy to install. The contracts make sense. Now let's talk about food. Okay, caveat. Pete and I, we eat very well. And I don't like spending all day in the kitchen. I got a lot to do. We're making a film, Chasing La Bella Vita, coming out in 2027, feature film. We're making a film. I like to paint. I make these videos for you guys. There's a lot that we do during the day. So I go to the co-op in Sinalunga or even here in Torita di Siena, and they have like a deli section. It's massive. And they have the most delicious food there and prepared. Like they have these peas and guanciale thing, which I could never make in a million years. It's so good. It's a couple bucks for this thing. And then the cheeses there are outstanding. I don't know how I'm going to go for a few months without fresh Asiago in California. It's unbelievably good. You can't even find it. So I'm going to go haunt the Whole Foods over there in El Dorado Hills and see if I can find any fresh Asiago. And if I can, I can guarantee you it's probably going to be about $13 a block for a small block that I would pay €2.80 here for. So we eat very well. And so we probably pay about $800 a month for food. Now also, we eat a lot of rotisserie chicken from Sinalunga because they have chicken alla diavola that they put on the rotisserie. It's spiced beautifully. It's so delicious. And, whatever's left over, there's a lot on those chickens. It's not like the Safeway chickens that there's just one meal. No, these are several meals. So we eat the chicken and then use the rest for whatever else. A pasta. Yes, we put chicken in pasta. I know they don't do it in Italy. We do. Okay. Or some other chicken dish or in a salad or whatever. And then we have a lot left over. But we do that about twice a week. We go there, we get the chicken, you get a big slab of lasagna. Their lasagna here is so good. They use that bechamel, which is like a little custardy. Oh, so good. So we get, a rotisserie chicken and a big slab of lasagna, and we eat that, and we're just happy, happy, happy. So good. There's so much there. The artichokes, the olives, everything you could ever want in an Italian antipasto or even a meal is there. So we tend to eat there a lot. We grab the food and we take it home and we eat it and that. So our food bill, if you don't do that, would be a lot less. Now let's talk about Starbucks. What's a cappuccino cost at Starbucks? It's $4.25 for like a regular cappuccino. Not here. You get one for about $1.20 or €1.20, which is about $1.40. Breakfast at the bar is around €3. So you get a beautiful cappuccino, and then a pastry of your choice. I usually like cornetti vuoti, which is the empty ones with nothing in them. You can get them with cream, you can get them with pistachio, you can get them with chocolate, you can get all kinds of, like if I ate those every morning, I'd be so fat. There's one that looks like a shell and it's puff pastry with a little cream cheese and a little strawberry. Whoa! I don't eat those, but you can, and they're around the same price. All right, yearly taxes, including TARI if it is a second home. You can figure around $89 per 6 months. That's another friend of ours, Bill, that has a house that's, roughly that size. 89 euros per 6 months. So what is that? Less than 20 bucks a month. Now, house insurance. Let's talk about that because I learned a very painful and unhappy lesson about house insurance. I was charged $1,200 a year just to insure some stuff that I had in a house that we were selling. And I looked at the policy later and I did some research and I found out that, this was a renovation project. We just had a few things in the house that we wanted to insure. And the insurance agent had put it up as a casa de luxe, which was ridiculous. A casa de luxe, if you're insuring everything in a casa de luxe, which is a luxury home, you're going to have 20,000 euro sofas, you're going to have beautiful kitchens, you're going to have all this stuff that was not in that house. So blatantly, it was a ripoff. It was a ripoff. Don't do what I did. Expect around 300 to 600 per year for your house insurance. Now, that's if you own the home. I don't know what renter's insurance is. It's probably going to be less. Now, earthquake insurance is very difficult to find in Italy. I haven't been able to find it, and if you find it, it's probably going to be ruinously expensive. How do you avoid that? Well, I would get a place in a historic center that's been here for 1,000 years. Chances are it's going to be pretty earthquake resistant, or in a location where there's not a lot of earthquakes. Here where we are here, we're in a home that's been part of the historic center for hundreds of years, and it is all brick, so we don't have any fires to speak of. We don't have wood. I mean, we have wood beams here, but most of it's brick. So I don't think it's going to burn anytime soon, and if it burns, somebody's going to have to try real hard to burn it. So we don't worry too much about insurance. I mean, it's good if you're going to be gone for any period of time to get some insurance for the stuff that's in your home. Now, if you have a vacation home, this I think is pretty vital because vacation homes all over the world tend to be targeted by thieves, and they have however many months to back their car up to your home and just loot all the contents. So I would definitely look into that if you're getting a vacation home here or plan to be gone for a while. Less so in a historic center when there's a lot of people going by. I would imagine somebody coming into Torita with a big truck backed up to your house where everybody knows you and offloading stuff would attract some attention. We don't worry about that at all for that reason. Now, if you're out in the country, definitely. Condo fees, if you're in a condo, if applicable. I've seen them in a normal condo, without the gym, without the swimming pool, all that stuff, around $250 a year. So what is that, 20 bucks a month maybe? That's for basic maintenance, lighting, common areas, all of that stuff. Now, we've talked about condos and condo associations. When you go to buy a condo, make sure that when you go in, it looks nice. The place is well maintained. There's no broken lights. There's no broken stairs that are dangerous. Because, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of condo associations, especially in Calabria, they just pocket the money and they don't do anything with it. And after you buy your condo, you start noticing things are getting degraded around you, or worst case, you have a roof leak or something that they're supposed to handle and you cannot get them to fix it. So make sure when you get into a condo situation that you're getting into a situation where they're active and proactive about handling situations like that. Now, for a car, you can pay anywhere between $8,000 to $20,000 and up for a car, depending if you want a Ferrari. Yeah, you're going to pay a lot more. But our cute Panda, we paid 8,000 euros for it, and it didn't even have 100,000 kilometers on it. It starts up every single time. The thing is just a workhorse. And I love that little thing. I mean, we're up there filming and going around these little teeny tiny streets and whatnot, and it's very nice to have a small car. It's like driving a go-kart. You know, you just really feel the road, you feel everything in it. I love, love, love that car for driving around in, you know, these areas here. Now, if I was going to do a lot of driving back and forth on the highways and whatnot, I might get a bigger car, but we're not going to do that. And when we do that, we can certainly just rent a car and drive it if that's what we need. Or if we have a lot of guests with a lot of luggage and that kind of thing, we can always rent a car. And we have in the past, and it's worked out great. So that was what you would pay for a car. Car insurance, it can be anywhere from $600 to $800 a month when you're starting out. Now, when you start out, you're basically in the most expensive tier. And as you go through the years without any accidents or, you know, multas and speeding tickets and things like that, it starts going down. So we're at the $600 per year mark, and that's pretty good. I mean, it's way more affordable than California. I think ours is $8,000 to $1,000 a year there. Here it's $600 per year, which is great. And it covers a lot of things. It covers, you know, the other person getting injured, the driver getting injured, passengers getting injured, which is very important. And things like roadside assistance we got. And there was something about the windshield or the glass or something. I forget what. I think windshield replacement or whatever. Very cheap, and we had them put that in. There's a very, very good insurance company agency over in Sinalunga with Allianz. They are wonderful there. We had a wonderful time with them. And we went to insure our APE, and I'm like, I wonder how much it's going to be. And I think the APE is what? $300 a year to insure my APE to the hilt. So yeah, we're happy about that. All right, gas. Gas costs in California average around $5.57 per gallon. In some areas, more expensive. I think in LA, I saw $8 a gallon or something. Here in Torita, it's about 8.82 euros per gallon. It's more expensive, but everything is closer, okay? If you're out in the country, yeah, you're going to drive a little bit more, but even then, you're probably not going to be out in the boondocks out there in, you know, Valdorcha, somewhere where nobody goes. Everything is really within a very short driving distance. Here in Torita, we have a lot of things. But let's say we want to go to Sinalunga and go look at windows or tiles and all of that, or go to my favorite art store. It's a 10-minute drive. And we have a diesel car. Our Panda is diesel. I think we fill up less than once a month if we're not driving to Cortona or Calabria or wherever. It's about $60 to fill up the tank, and it just lasts forever. It's almost comical how we never really have to stop for gas. I mean, once in a blue moon we do. So I would get a diesel. If you're going to get a car, get a diesel. It's really worth it because it just sips gas. Another expense you're going to look at is a revisione, which you have to do every 2 years on your car. So basically every 2 years you take it into the shop, you do a revisione, and it's $80 for the revisione. They basically they go over the tires, they go over the all of the levels, they go over the tubes and the this and that. They go over everything, brakes, to make sure that it's safe to drive. And I like that a lot because you know what? I rarely see stalled cars here in Italy. Rarely do I see them. Whereas in California, I see them a lot more. Why? Because they don't have this revisione system. I think it's a good system, and I think it helps to make sure that people are safe. So I like that. I like it. You know, normally I'm not a huge, you know, government intervention person, but this I think makes a lot of sense, and I'm 100% on board. Okay, eating out, restaurants. Okay, so yesterday we went to our favorite restaurant here in Torita, and this is an amazingly high-end restaurant. And we had a gourmet meal with meat, and I had this onion thing. It was like a stuffed onion. It was stuffed with sausage and not ricotta cheese. It was another kind of cheese, and it had this cheese sauce of it. Oh my God, it was so good. They had their little fagioli, which are, you know, beans that they cook in a big pot with olive oil and rosemary. Oh, they're so good. Anyway, I had that, and then you know, a Diet Coke and everything, and we had a huge water. And Pete had peposo, which is steak, and some vegetables, and we ate really, really well. The bill was, I think, 45 euros, but this was a really, really good restaurant, and we had, you know, basically the meat dishes. If you want a pizza, and pizzas around here are amazingly good, you can get one for between $8 to $10 and maybe $12 for a pizza with everything on it or whatever. A similar pizza in San Jose many years ago. I was trying to find an Italian pizza, and we stopped at this one restaurant. They had the Italian wood-fired pizza. We're like, oh, finalmente, we can have an Italian pizza in San Jose. 25 bucks. And it was very thin pizza. It was good, but it was 25 bucks. Here, it's 8 to 10 and maybe a little bit more if you're getting all kinds of stuff on it. So pizzas are very inexpensive. Pasta dishes tend to be around 10 to 13 euros because they're considered first courses. However, you get a spaghetti con vongole, that's a meal. I don't eat a pasta and then some meat and then a bunch of other stuff. If I have a pasta dish, I have a pasta dish. You know, maybe eat a little piece meat or whatever. But you can eat very inexpensively is what I'm trying to say. Also, the antipasti here tend to be less expensive. I don't eat a huge meal at one time. I like to get an antipasto instead of a meal because they're plenty. This onion thing was considered antipasti, and it was perfect. It was just the right size for me, and it was absolutely unbelievable. All right, so restaurants, yeah, depending on where you go, depending on what you eat, it can be around 45 bucks. But I will say that when we go to our favorite ramen place in El Dorado Hills, we pay 45 bucks for 2 bowls of ramen and a Diet Coke. It's a lot. And then you tip on top of that. There's no tipping here. In fact, I asked the nail lady about tipping. And I said, do you tip here? And they're like, what? To them, it was a concept they'd never heard of. The lady said, no, this is not like America. We don't tip here. And I'm like, okay, thank you. By the way, my nails, I think I paid 22 euros versus when I go, it's 35 when I go to El Dorado Hills and I get them done. Big difference. Also the same with hairdressing and stuff. It's about 32 euros for my hair. You know, if I get a tint touch up and a cut and a style, they always like to style it. I walk out of there looking like $1 million and I pay 32 euros versus 120 where I get my hair done in El Dorado Hills. So there you go. I mean, it's worth it in both places. That's the going price. It's fine. It just is what it is. All right, entertainment. Okay, there's so much entertainment here. You can go to any of these hill towns. They're so cute. They're so pretty. And let's say you don't have a car. Let's say you want to rent a car for the day. Maybe you pay 45 bucks to rent a car for the day. You go around all the hill towns and you have a wonderful time. Maybe you pay 35 bucks for a meal there. You know, you could have a beautiful day out for probably around 100 bucks. And that's just the hill towns. Now, in addition, they have festivals everywhere, all over the place, and they start around March and they just go straight through until it gets cold. So I saw the Bistecca Festival, beef steak. I've seen all kinds of festivals. My least favorite festival that I would never attend was the Snail Festival. I wouldn't celebrate snails per se. However, there's all kinds of festivals. Now, great example. The Torita International Blues Festival was in June, okay? And our dear friend Luca, who is in our movie, Chasing La Bella Vita, out in 2027, he actually is one of the lead actors in that film. But he's the guy in charge who actually made and created this blues festival because of his love for blues. Here's an example of high-end international acts. And last June it was Robin Ford, who was fantastic. It was Stefan Hauck from Australia. Unbelievable. It was a bunch of other, more local from Rome, and those guys were great. And then they had the kids playing. They were unbelievable. The whole thing was amazing. And so I think it was 3 or 4 nights. We bought tickets for 3 or 4 nights, which included the big full course dinner that they had at the kickoff for 40 bucks each. So for a couple, 80 bucks for 4 nights of priceless entertainment. And I have to say, the nice thing is I don't have to worry about parking because I just walk out my door and into the piazza and there we are. So my point is that there are all kinds of really inexpensive festivals. I mean, most festivals don't cost anything unless you want to buy food there. The Palio here goes on for a week. There's parades, there's dinners, there's all kinds of things. And everything is free except the dinners. I think what did we pay, 20 bucks for a big dinner at Contrada Cavone, which is one of the neighborhoods there. Fabulous dinner. And then the other Palio we had down here in front of our house, which was wonderful. And we paid, I don't know, 20 bucks for that, I think. Now, the Palio, all of the corteges, the parades, and the drummers and the flag throwers, it's all free. But if you want to sit down and watch the polio, which we highly recommend, you pay $10 to get in, 10 euros to get in. So everything really, as far as entertainment goes, it's very affordable. Museums here, oh, we were up in Cortona, I think, to see a nice exhibit, and it was around 5 euros per person to get into that exhibit in Cortona. You're going to pay a lot more in Florence and Milan and these other places because the museums there cater to tourists and they have Michelangelo's and all of that stuff. But if you want to see some local artists or some artists of historic importance in the local areas, you can see some beautiful stuff for very inexpensive. All right, now our cost of living is higher because we own a car, and you can live without one very well, but you have to live near a train station, walking distance to shops and services, and in a busier area. There you go. We also buy prepared food at the grocery store, which I already talked about. That's my guilty pleasure. And I have a couple of tips for saving money in Italy. Now, first of all, air conditioning costs, right? And I noticed a huge difference when we installed an awning on the windows that had the sun coming directly in. It was a massive difference. And in fact, most of the time I didn't have to run the air conditioner in that room because it was kept cool enough with that shade. So check that out. Installing an awning might be an initial startup cost on that, but it's going to help you keep the AC off, and it's just a lot nicer. You don't have that glaring afternoon sun and the blistering heat of the summer and all of that. And I love an awning, so look at that. Use the Italian clothes drying system, which is a big rack that you buy at the store, and you just put your clothes on it. In wintertime, what's really great is these radiators. You can put your socks and underwear on the radiator, put the jeans on them, they dry in like an hour. It's fantastic. Now in Calabria, I had trouble drying stuff in wintertime. It would take days to dry, and then it would smell like foot and you'd have to wash it again. So it might not work for every situation, but if you have these radiators, you're gold. Another way to save money, don't live in a big city, choose a smaller town. Torita is a beautiful town, Sinalunga is a beautiful town. There's places around the train station that you can live, and you can still be close to the trains, you can still be close to all the services that you need. Now, if you're away from a train station, you can always hire somebody to come get you and take you to the train station. Another thing, cook at home, like I do not do. And of course, close off unused areas for heat and AC. Heat and AC can get up there as far as money goes. And if you have an area that you're not using for the day, definitely close it off and open it up when you're ready to use it. The nice thing about those splits generally and these radiators is they heat up very, very quickly. So if I close off my bedroom and I know I'm not going to be there during the day, I just turn it on a half an hour before I go to bed, and it's fine. So those are our tips, and I hope you find that helpful. If you have any questions about specific situations, definitely send me a note in the comments. Go join our school community. We talk about all of this here. We talk about all of this there and more. And I have some free giveaways, which are very important. So go to the school community. It's free to join, and a lot of the giveaways are free as well. So there you go, guys. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you soon.